Howdy. Welcome to the next installment of Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Today's subject is Lindberg's Lines F-100 Super Sabre in the Thunderbirds markings. This kit was issued in 1957. This is the second issuing of the kit, which was originally issued in 1956 in regular standard Air Force markings. And for the second issue the next year, they issued it in the Thunderbirds Air Force demonstration markings. They issued a few other of their standard line models in some of the demonstration team markings as well. You saw that also being done with the Navy's Blue Angels with some of their other kits. And so today's is the Thunderbirds from the U.S. Air Force. What's interesting about this also is that nowhere on the box does it say that it's an F-100 Super Sabre. All it talks about is being a Thunderbirds aircraft. So let's get into it. This is a pretty good condition model. It's only got one imperfection, one of the corners being torn. The rest of it is just about as close to what it would have originally looked like when you purchased this back in 1957. So to start off with, beautiful artwork by Ray Gadke. You'll see across here, it actually has his signature still left, prominently shown, which is very unusual for model box art. And so good job. Ray got his name recognized on there. On the side panel, you've got some more information. Lindberg Lines logo mentions there being movable control surfaces, scale jet engine. Later issues of this kit actually had a motor inside that would actually make some jet, or what they would call a jet sound. But it's also listed here as quarter scale, which represents a 1/48 scale. So Lindberg was trying to be consistent with a lot of their mid-range fighter kits as far as their size and scales. So on the end of the box here, you've got the kit number 552, and then of course you got the double dots with the 98 underlined, and that meant that this kit was a 98-cent kit back in 1957. Opposite side of the box, similar to the other one. Here's where the blemish is on this one, and you also can see that the kits originally were not cellophane wrapped or shrink wrap like you see now. The boxes were held together by just little strips of cellophane tape. And you can also see this is one of the old style hard boxes, which has the wraparound lithograph print that was hand glued onto each and every one of these boxes. So let's get into the model itself. Remove the lid. And here you can see how this kit would have looked when you got it home for the very first time back in the day. Very large kit, fills this box up considerably. You've heard the term, box scale, and a lot of times kits were designed to fit a specific size of a box. In this case, Lindberg was making it in 48 scale, and it just barely fits inside the standard size box. So what you notice right away is a lot of heavy rivets, raised panel lines, but it's a little bit finer than what you see on some of the other kits around this time frame. Partially because it's a much larger aircraft, much larger model, I should say. So those rivets don't stand out as much as far as being out of scale. You got the opening here, so you'd be able to see into where the engine would be. Got a lot of the cockpit detail was molded in on the outside, but fairly clean molding. Another thing that's noticeable at the beginning here as well is this one does not have molded markings, which is unusual for the time frame as well. Most kits in this era had their markings molded on. So here's parts of the engine. You've got will be the afterburner, I guess, and then the engine itself. Their pieces right here. Pretty nice moldings for it. Fairly nice detail for this era of a kit as well. And you've got a sprue, which has some of the control surfaces, part of the centerline drop tank, fairly nicely rendered wheels, the rockets. Again, the same problem that you see with a lot of these kits of the era. The rockets were molded with the mountings on them, so instead of being in a cross shape where the fins would be, or instead of a X where the fins would be, you get a cross, which would make it almost impossible for these rockets to actually be launched. And the sprue's got, looks like the fins for the drop tank. Some more fins. Got Lindberg stand. Multi-piece stand here. Here's some more of the drop tank parts. And then the wings. And the wings, again, similar to the fuselage. A lot of fine raised panel lines. But again, because of the size of the aircraft, they don't look too bad. And the rivets are, again, a lot more proportionate to what would have really existed on the aircraft, as opposed to a lot of the other ones where you see some pretty giant sized rivets. And you've got looks like the exhaust ring for the tail. Here's your canopy piece, and this is fairly well molded. It's a little bit scratched up from 70 years of being in a box. Yeah, a little bit thick, but it does have some pretty decent panel line or framing lines on there to make it fairly easy to paint. So I think it's the flap for the engine bay. And I don't know what this piece is for. You've got part of the ejection seat, which has, actually quite a bit of good detail to it. So there's that. There's one of the tailplanes. And here we've got the instruction sheet. It's got some fading on it. But fairly nice artwork showing the completed model. In the bottom corner here, we have all the other aircraft and kits that were available through Lindberg. And on the side, here's their instructions. So you can see how they did use step-by-step, unlike some of the other manufacturers at the time, which just showed you one giant exploded view, which they do include, but then they actually show you the step-by-step with the actual building as it's going along. So Lindberg did a pretty good job with their instructions. Nice blend of the two main styles that you saw around this period, of either exploded view with written directions or very simple step-by-step directions. So they're giving you both with Lindberg, which was pretty nice. It's a pretty good instruction sheet. And then finally, we've got the decal set. As you can see, it's a pretty huge sheet. It takes up the entire box. In fact, it's even curved up from getting to the end of the box. But pretty simple, but extensive. The colors are really bright. Unfortunately, these have yellowed over time, but still a pretty extensive decal sheet, which would have made it pretty easy for a kid to represent their model to look like the box cover. Pretty full set. So anyway, that's all we have for today. So again, Lindberg lines, F-100 Super Sabre and the Thunderbirds marking. You can actually still get this kit. It's still being reissued by Lindberg. So you can still find this, on the shelves in hobby shops, and definitely you can find, one of, many reissues at any vintage model swap meet or stores that still carry some vintage kits. You may be able to find them there. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for dropping by, and have yourself a great day.